everyone is on the same level. Now the second part, this is where the fun comes in. For the vast majority of the rest of the time, we will have this conversation. So we're not the teachers, we're not the lecturers, we're just another peers here in this room, and we want to really discuss all of this and get your insights in this as well. And again, usually these Socratics are not recorded, mainly due to privacy reasons, right? Maybe some of you don't want to be known that you do Bitcoin stuff, and also because we want to discuss ideas that maybe we don't fully stand behind. Right, but we just want to throw it out there and get the research done and say maybe something that we would not want anyone else to know about. But this one is recorded, and so keep this in mind, and it will be publicized.
Only the just voice.
Exactly, only the voice. The camera is pointed to us. Yeah, can you actually turn the microphone off quickly, or is that a hassle?
Yes.
Okay, so if you want to say something that is not recorded at all, preface that, we will turn off the microphone and then you can speak up freely. So we usually start these rounds by everyone introducing themselves.
Shall we do it?
I think it's very valuable, actually. Though I would, especially with such a large group, keep it very, very short, okay? Don't even have to mention your name, but just maybe keep it also a bit on topic, why you're interested in Bitcoin and privacy. But keep it very short. So I will start just so that you get a feel on it. So my name is Max. I work on different Bitcoin privacy tools, and I'm very interested to research more on this topic.
My name is David. I'm a software developer engineer for 12 years, and I worked on medical devices, hardware devices, softwares, security software, so every kind of software so far. Thank you.
My name is Amir, and I'm just getting into Bitcoin.
My name is Farouk Abdul, and I'm a student of computer science. And I'm just trying to go also into blockchain in general to see how many solutions maybe can be solved in things like that.
Hello, I'm István. I'm a PhD student at Eötvös Loránd University, and I'm writing my PhD about privacy in cryptocurrencies, Bitcoin, and I'm also doing research with other currencies, but maybe some people don't like this here. But I like other cryptocurrencies as well.
Okay, hi, I'm Dave. I'm just recording here. But I'm a contributor for open source project and blockchain sometimes. So I really love doing a lot of stuff.
Hi, I'm Yuri. I came here to talk about or learn about more the privacy. I started learn Solidity and Scala, but I'm just a database programmer.
Okay.
Hi, my name is Vincent. I first got into Bitcoin 2 or 3 years ago, but I'm always trying to learn more.
Hi, I'm Marty. I'm a law student, so I'm not a techie guy at all, but I got into Bitcoin with Bence, so I would love to learn more about it.
Interesting.
Yeah, so did I just miss the introduction round?
Yeah, no, we're just doing it.
So hi everyone, my name is Daniel. I'm actually a software developer. You can see because I can't live without coffee. So basically for 3 years I do like blockchain projects. Sometimes it's like Hyperledger and more on the consortium part, but I have some Ethereum background as well.
I'm Stefano, I come from Italy. I studied maths in my bachelor and I'm doing cybersecurity for my master. My thesis will be about price oracles, so smart contract stuff. I got into Bitcoin related things a couple of years ago, and I contributed to a couple of open source projects in the area of Lightning Network. So I think that's it.
Quick thing, look into shortbits.com.
I'm Manuel from City. I'm from a completely other direction. I'm from I studied business and management, and I found an enterprise, a startup, and it's a work platform. And now I'm seeking like new ways how to transfer a value to pay salaries, for instance. So it gives a possibility to act more free for the performer. Yes, that's why I'm here. For networking, yeah. Thanks.
Hello, I'm Alexandra, I'm a lawyer, and I'm here just because of my curiosity.
Michele from Italy. I live here 26 years. I'm a former entrepreneur. Now I'm just involved in multiple international organizations and NGO across Europe. The relevant one here, last year I helped some people raising money with an ICO to build a new blockchain. It's called Multiversum. Actually, the foundation was made in Hungary because they nominated me as a president later. And we just released one new blockchain called Multiversum 2 weeks ago, the 0.1 version, and it's will be open source.
Hi, I'm Cecilia, I'm from Italy. I'm here because I'm an intern on the NGO of Michele, and I'm graduated in political science, and I'm interested in blockchain because my thesis was on the blockchain in the energy market, and I'm here to learn something more.
I'm a cybersecurity student as well, together with Stefano. I have a few years experience in cryptocurrencies, Bitcoin, altcoins, and privacy coins. And that's it.
OCKYC myself. Okay, so my name is Cairo. I'm a master's student. I'm researching Bitcoin full-time or social sciences space. And I'm probably one of the most toxic maximalists in this room.
Hey guys, I'm Mate. I'm with Steve together. We are co-organizing this workshop. So the first thing is to say that I hope you enjoy everything, guys. And thanks for the guys for coming. About myself, I used to be an economist and a banker, but as Max has stated in the beginning, we all have our place in this ecosystem. So based on that, I'm a big decentralized finance fan. So we're also working on a few projects. Yeah. Nice timing.
We are doing an introduction phase, so can you tell a few words about yourself?
I hope I'm in a good place. I'm looking for some Bitcoin meetup.
Yep, you're in the
forces. Well, I got into this ecosystem in 2014. I wrote my dissertation about Bitcoin and how it's fitting this economic model to our society and how we can use it. And now I'm not just looking for Bitcoin, I'm more open to other coins to actually interpret it to our system. And I'm working with an electric company at the moment, and I'm looking for options to put a payment channel to our service. Yeah. So in the last week I was just showed my boss to how these systems could work and how you can buy Bitcoin, sell it, and what option he may choose it or not. I don't know. So I'm looking for new people.
So we can pay with Bitcoin for electricity?
Not yet.
That's good.
Not yet. Yeah, hopefully in the future.
Keep it up.
Thanks.
So I am Yaro, I am from Ukraine. I'm a business analyst. I'm interested in some new technology. So 2 years ago I invested in Bitcoin and I'm waiting when it's rocket to the sky. So, that's all.
I am Daniel, I'm a software developer. I'm here because I'm interested in blockchain technology.
Hello, my name is Szabolcs, I'm from Hungary. I'm a .NET developer and David was my workmate for years. So I curious what you read nowadays.
Hi, so as Max stated before, you don't have to say your name, so just a few people who are behind me, I just want to say that, so I'm going to skip it too, and I'm a .NET developer and a Microsoft fanboy.
Hello, I'm from Brazil, and I'm running my startup now at Damien. And also I've been to many events here, so I'm very interested about it, to know more.
I'm Csaba Necseri. I'm also an IT and a developer in .NET, and I was also interested in the blockchain technologies, Ethereum and Bitcoin.
Hi guys, I'm Peter. I'm not a software developer, but I'm interested in this cryptocurrency topic, and I'm curious what happened in this.
Hi, I'm Robbie. I'm economist, and I'm interested in everything about blockchain. So I'm here to learn.
Okay, awesome. So we have a great group. And again, let's make sure that we actually get this conversation going. So again, although we might speak up on some topics and somewhat lead the conversation, please, everyone, at any time, feel free to speak up, and we will talk about all this good stuff. So David ended with this great quote by Edward Snowden: "Privacy is not about hiding something; it is about protecting something." And this would lead me down into the first question. Why is privacy important, or is it important at all? Why should we care?
I think it is so we get comfortable that we have privacy because, for example, banks are not spreading our information because of the data privacy policy what they have. But in Bitcoin you are your own bank, so there is no third party who will protect your privacy but you.
I believe that if you don't have privacy, you can be easily controlled. For example, China.
Yeah, good point.
I think it's also interesting that how the narrative about privacy in Bitcoin changed. Like in the very beginning, everyone thought, especially criminals, that this is a private money, a private digital currency. And then people started to realize that it's, not that private. So I think it's also interesting to see how this whole evolution of our understanding developed about Bitcoin privacy. So yeah, and now we know that if you want privacy, so we know that now we don't have privacy at all, sadly, but luckily we have Wasabi.
There are always two sides in everything. So I was just in China for 2 months. No, I was in October, September, October. I was countless times, and there's no privacy there, but many people enjoy also the good side of not having privacy. Low problems with bad people, protected. If you have something, if you lose your phone and anybody steal it, call the authorities, half an hour you have it back, and so on. So there are always two sides. Because privacy can be also abused by the bad people.
So I was living in Taiwan for a considerable amount of time, which is like Chinese people but with democracy. And the benefits that you said, it's more like about just Chinese people in general, that they are very nice. If you lose your phone, they give you back and things like that. So the society just works because there is privacy in Taiwan. And there is a lot of freedom in China until you are going against the government. But I would say in general, Chinese ethnic people just can work together and not really malicious unless it's coming to scams. But yeah.
Yeah, I was referring the bad people, if they steal your phone and took it, you get it back. So
the cameras can see them, so they
yeah, it's everybody's seeing multiple times an hour everywhere. I mean, the last hotel I've been in October, to us foreigners, they give us the card to access the hotel. Chinese, they don't need the card. They are registered. They go in the front of the door opens. They are registered in that hotel, so they have the freedom to enter. Unbelievable.
Yes, but sometimes what happens, privacy is very scary. You can hear some people who, from one day to another, cut their phones away and grab some stories from his history, and the guy completely doomed in that way. So
Yes.
it could be very scary when you don't have privacy and you picked out by the authorities for some real reason or some not valid reasons, and they just cut your phones. They know where you live, they know what you are doing, they know your friends, everything. And for example, in China they are using WeChat. It's the Facebook there, and you can pay with it, you can go everywhere, you can rent a bike, you can hire a taxi, you can do everything it's very convenient, but of course, on the other hand, you are compromising every information with the authorities, and maybe on one day they will come and get you because they know everything about you.
And I think privacy is about selectively revealing information about yourself. It's not about hiding everything, it's about having the power to choose what to share with others. Right? And if we see it in that light, then it's a tool, it's a technology, it's a strategy. And as you said, any technology can be used for good or for bad. Right? Criminals use shoes too because you can run faster in them. Right?
There is also some important nuance here that your example was that the cameras it's not like everyone can see everyone all the time. It's a select group of people, government, police, who can see stuff. But in Bitcoin you can't make the distinction because it's whoever can read the blockchain information properly can know, and it's just information. It's gonna be open source, and then everyone's gonna know how much money you have. Like, do you feel uncomfortable by that question? So it's like it's like everyone knows everyone. I don't agree that government should know everything about everyone. It should be more like the opposite, that everyone should know everything about the government. But that's not reality. Yeah.
Actually, if you're speaking about Bitcoin here, we all know that the one important group of people using Bitcoin privacy was the bad people. That's why outside of this group, the name of Bitcoin is associated to, let's say, some people. I know I met some people like 40, 50 years old entrepreneurs. They should be know everything. Bitcoin, that's for criminals. I mean, I was shocked. But that's a perception outside because of many people abusing its privacy. Sadly.
That's true, but it's became the past, as far as I can see. So it was used by criminals for a lot of. They started to use it for that purpose. But now, today, I think that's only a few percent, according to chain analysis.
So the criminal activity on Bitcoin increased, but as more and more people came into Bitcoin, very surprisingly, most people are not criminals. So the total percentage of criminal activity decreased.
Yeah, and I would just say that criminals like to use good technology too, right? And if there's a tool that will fix their problems better, they will use it, and they live on the edge where the marginal cost for better tools is very valuable. So criminals were probably the first to wear shoes, to drive a car, right? To use the internet. Internet was filled with porn and criminals in the early days. Now everyone uses it. Sure, there's still crime and porn on the internet, but everyone uses it. It's a good tool, right? And you can use it for good or for bad.
Finish the sentence.
Only criminals watch porn.
And our friend, I heard that from my friends that.
Okay, and so then maybe to turn this from a general conversation about why Bitcoin in general, why privacy in general, why specifically financial privacy? Right? Why is this one part of information that is very valuable to keep control over on whom you share it with? What do you say?
It's like having a camera in the toilet. Or you wouldn't really find me did.
Well, no, but that is the privacy in general, right? But specifically for financial privacy, why is that extra important? Or maybe is it extra important, or is it not?
I think it's extremely important, like more important than other internet privacy. Maybe it's in our DNA that we care more about money than cats and dogs.
Basically, it's everything that's business. So if your information is private, then you can't really negotiate. So I buy a cup of coffee for €5. So if they see how much money I have, basically, then the next gonna be like €1,000 or something.
Somebody got to know that you have lots of money, then you can be a target.
It depends. If you don't have money, it doesn't matter. But if you have $1,000 million on your bank account, that it became absolutely super important, I think, to survive.
In the environment of Bitcoin, it's also super relevant for fungibility. If a given coin comes from probably criminal sources, indirectly, it could decrease its value, and you could see your money disappear just because they were in a wrong place before you.
I would like to just a little bit broaden the perspective of the conversation. So I think the reason why we have privacy issues on Bitcoin is that Satoshi valued public verifiability more than privacy. And that's the price you need to pay. If you want your financial system to be publicly verifiable, like current financial systems like banks are not publicly verifiable, they can just mint whatever money they would like out of thin air, but in Bitcoin you can't do that. So Bitcoin is publicly verifiable, and the price for that is that you have suboptimal privacy default.
Yeah, that's a very interesting point, right? Because maybe whatever Sloan here is talking about, it's about protecting something, privacy is, right? So it's a strategy to protect your property rights, right? Very broadly speaking. You want to keep the stuff that's yours, and you don't want anyone else to steal it from you. And so if nobody knows the stuff that you have, then nobody can take it from you, right? Because they don't even know that it's there and that you have it and that you control it. So protecting your Bitcoin in a sense that nobody knows how many Bitcoin you have is very good, right? Because when nobody knows how much you have, nobody's going to come and steal it from you. Though then the other argument or the other side of this would be that inflation is theft, right? So we want to protect against inflation too, and that is theft on a colossal scale. So protecting against this by having public verifiability of the money supply is incredibly important for our overarching goal of protecting our property rights, and privacy is just another tool that we use. So this might be a bit of a dichotomy.
Yeah, I definitely see a tension between public verifiability and privacy. And also public verifiability is kind of goes against scalability. There's a huge price we need to pay for public verifiability, which is super good, don't get me wrong. That's, I think, the core value proposition of Bitcoin, that you can validate everything on your own. But it has consequences.
Maybe Satoshi was giving an idea, so he just created something that could work in the future, and if the people or the groups who's using the Bitcoin has some issue with that, then they could make effort in developing the system and so on. Maybe the Wasabi, that's why it's come alive, because the people find it, okay, I don't want to show how much Bitcoin I have sent it from my wallet. And maybe that's why Monero came in to shine.
Yeah, and we see this already. Satoshi spoke about something like coin joins, which then was later termed under this. But to be able to merge your transaction graphs and to obfuscate the pseudonymous identities that you have it's very fitting for the system itself. Like if we have the system of public audibility under pseudonymous accounts, right, then being able to change your pseudonymous accounts so that they cannot be linked to each other, right, to avoid the cluster, which David mentioned, then this is exactly in line.
Yeah, but Satoshi wasn't saying that he was fully for verifiability, because he did have the idea that we could have like a zero-knowledge proof that would work fine, that having accountability on the blockchain, on the base layer, then we could have total anonymity on the base layer also. So if we have unreversible privacy and uninflatable money supply, and we can verify it mathematically that the money supply and everything else is still functioning, then we can still have a base layer with privacy. So the whole privacy drama going to be going around in a couple of years probably.
Yeah, and maybe specifically for something like Monero is doing, one of the things is confidential transactions, meaning that the amount that is being sent is obfuscated. You still use mathematical proofs that the value of the outputs is smaller than the value of the inputs, right? Meaning that no new money is created. But this is a mathematical proof that has an additional assumption right, that we do not yet have in Bitcoin, and it's also just more complicated cryptography. So the question then would be, is the risk of making an implementation mistake or a mathematical mistake that will then lead to inflation and thus theft, right? Is this worth to improve the privacy, which is a defense against theft?
That's why I wasn't influenced it, because he didn't have a system then. So if you can have a system like that and it's possible to see it, it's working, it could probably work, and you could find probably consensus for it. It's not impossible in the future. And it could probably work even better with the Wasabi then. Even improve everything else.
It depends on the context. Even in Bitcoin, you can hold confidential transactions in a way that it does, that you can still verify the money supply.
You know, but the same was the case with zcash, right? zcash had these shielded amounts and something too, but then there was and there was an implementation bug. So even the cryptography was right? If the assumption held up, everything was working, but it was coded wrongly, and that leads to a bug, and all of a sudden one person can print as much money as he wants, right?
If you don't have reviewers and many contributors, then you can't really expect that level of being sure about the code as like in Bitcoin. So I wouldn't worry about it. It's like you can have bugs in everywhere right now in the current Bitcoin protocol. Bugs are not really an argument, you know.
The question of how many developers work on it.
What you mentioned was very interesting too, that if I have a, let's say, dirty coin, then it will worth less than other coins because of their history. And this brings up the topic of fungibility. I'm sure that economists know this better, but imagine that you go into the store and you want to pay with your money. They are checking the serial number of that money and saying that, oh, this is not 100, this is not a euro, this is not €1, this is only a €0.5 because of the serial number. So this would absolutely destroy Bitcoin as a money. So if we wouldn't have this privacy where we can hide or somehow we can break the transaction chain, then sooner or later there will be fungibility issues, like we have sometimes. For example, people wallets get frozen because of some unknown source, and this kind of stuff. Exchanges logged out users from their own wallet, and so this raises the question that privacy also gives you some fungibility benefits.
There was like I don't know how many of you have heard this story, but I think it's super funny and interesting. WikiLeaks posted a Bitcoin address, like if you want to support WikiLeaks, then send Bitcoins to this address. And in 2014 or something like that, there was a law in the US made by our beloved Barack Obama. There was a law that if you sent Bitcoins to that address, then you committed financial crime because you supported WikiLeaks. So that's also why we need privacy, because you maybe want to support Edward Snowden, you maybe want to support WikiLeaks, you want to, I don't know, do whatever you want, and if you don't have privacy, you cannot do that.
But also, what if you want to support KKK? Then, yeah.
It's a double-edged sword.
Which sword is bigger? There's a point, right?
I'm bringing it in a bigger context. Of course, it's a core question about privacy in politics, wherever, and Bitcoin is just a part of it, a central part, because it's the actual development state, like the furthest. But we have resources on this earth, and we're wasting them. So I think development is more important than privacy, than what kind of value we possess or informations we want to hide or whatever. So development is the center of all we should focus on.
Development of what?
Everything. But just a core thought. So instead of, okay, make an example. We're getting access
Instead of
to
pushing
everything.
about privacy in meetups, it should be home and code.
No, but just to say, don't take the humans too important, because we aren't that important. We should rather focus on what can we develop, what can we not do now with our lifetime for the future, than saving our values, if it's money or informations. I don't think it's that important, but it's my opinion, just my opinion.
But money gives extreme energy into development, because money is the moving blood of material world.
For example, what if I don't want to waste my life helping the future? I want to enjoy my life. I don't want to help the future. I need to have this option, right? That's my life. So I need to be free to choose.
Well, does the one exclude the other?
Can you enjoy your life now while still building for the future?
It's my opinion. You're taking your part in society, and I choose my part, you choose your part, and together we're the society. So it's a harmony.
That's the point. I mean, we need to be free to choose. That's most important.
Yes.
It is good that you brought this up, that we have to make a balance here. And the core developers are doing this. They are on, maybe on a bit on the other side, right? They are not developing, adding new stuff fastly because they have to make a consensus on everything. So they slow down the development, and it is very hard to get something implemented in Bitcoin Core, for example, and push into the production. And it looks like it is very healthy, because people are trying to find another solution and another solution, and how can this be implemented without changing the whole system again. And they are finding ideas like Lightning Network and tricky stuffs instead of increasing the block size, because they are not letting the development rapidly, or at least not letting go the fresh development goes into production. Then people are trying to make a different solution, and finds, for example, Lightning Network is a very tricky solution to improve the base layer.
Maybe one aspect on this as well is to, privacy. What happens if privacy comes at a cost, right? When it is costly for someone to protect their privacy and thus the stuff that they have, where should that cost be, right? Because, for example, right now, if you want to do a coin join, you need to pay for that, right? Not just with your education but actually also with your Bitcoin, right? It has a fee to it. So you need to pay in order to become private. Where is this dichotomy when it's opt-in and costly to be private?
So you are suggesting that this is a problem, or?
Maybe.
Mm.
Who should pay for it? Right? That's the question.
Yeah.
If you are not paying for it, who will? Because, for example, right now you are paying a monthly fee for your bank account. Is it better than you are paying for them, or you would rather pay for your own privacy?
You have to pay anyway.
But you can pay less, you can give more opportunity for other ones. For example, you have this money to pay this tax. I cannot do that, so I'm not free to choose. But if everyone pays a little bit, then everyone can choose, right? So it's like tax in the city, everything.
It's a problem. It's a human right. Privacy is a human right, and so far you didn't even have the option to have privacy on Bitcoin. Now you have, but you have to pay for it. But what is the idea? Is to not pay for it at all, but just get it by default.
What I think is that privacy is not a 1 or 0 thing. So we have to think about privacy on different levels. If I go to, I have, I don't know, half a Bitcoin and I go buy a coffee, I probably don't even care whether the barman knows that I have half a Bitcoin. If I have 1,000 Bitcoins, maybe I do care. So depending on my life, if I am publicly exposed or not, I want different levels of privacy. So I wanted to bring up a question for Wasabi developers, because I think that we should go towards privacy on at least two different layers. One of which is the paid version. So one goes into a CoinJoin transaction in order to be completely anonymous somehow, or have a good anonymity set. But on the other hand, I would like wallets to go towards a direction in which they, by default, try to break chain analysis. So what is Wasabi doing about chain analysis by default? So are you randomizing the order of outputs? Is it possible, for example, to randomize last digits of the amount of a transaction to be able to not
yes, it's a
like a coin choice? What is being done there?
Yes, yes, it's a good question, and there are several ideas. For example, what you mentioned, to randomize the amounts. I think that
I have a feature request.
You brought up that, but it's debatable. So there was an argument about this because some other people don't want to randomize. They want exact amount to be paid.
Yeah, it should
so,
be a feature. Someone.
Yes, for example. Yes, can be. There are several ideas on GitHub.
For example, one might want to split into two the amount of a transaction today. Two transactions for one, in order to split the $1,000 he has to pay into 506 for whatever number random, and the rest, so that it's not possible. I mean, it's more difficult to do chain analysis to find out the change address.
Yes, but these small heuristics are will also broken if you are doing a coin join at the end.
But that would be cheaper, you know.
Mm-hmm.
If you have to pay for a transaction, like only a transaction fee, it's cheaper than to pay for a coin join transaction. And if you have, I don't know, 10 millibitcoins, you're not going to put them in a coin join transaction. So for smaller amounts, or
yes. Now what you can do is to randomize by yourself. Just enter the amount.
Join Market has a nice feature, as you mentioned. There are also some scripts for Bitcoin Core that randomize between a corridor by zkSNACKs or someone on GitHub. Yeah, so. Yeah. I mean, and then to the question, to what does Wasabi do by default? I think one of the most important things is that Wasabi protects your extended public key by default. Your extended public key is like the key which you use to generate all of your addresses. So if you have this extended public key, you know all the addresses in the past, present, future, right? And many other wallets send this extended public key, not the private key, the public key, to some trusted third-party server.
Why?
Because that's how you get the information of your coins, right? You ask someone else, hey, how much money do I have? Here are all my addresses. Tell me the total sum of all these addresses, right? It's very convenient, rather easy to implement.
Yes, because the server calculates the data and they storing that data. On the other hand, what we have now is that Wasabi will go through all of the transaction, and as far as I can remember, now we check today there is 5 million transactions. No,
Yeah, 500 million transaction.
So
Bitcoin transactions.
at the beginning, if you recover your wallet, for example, in Wasabi will go through, and it takes time. So there is always a trade-off. Or for example, what you mentioned, feature to randomize. It's a good feature, but imagine someone who never used Bitcoin before and goes to the send tab, and there is a random button next to the send button. It's very confusing. So that was, I think, the main debate why.
That's a UX problem. You might put it into the privacy section of the settings.
Yes. Could be.
So another thing I think Wasabi does great by default is everything goes over Tor. Don't have to configure anything, right? But and not just does it go over Tor, but you recycle your Tor identities all the time, right? So for example, the network level privacy on Wasabi Wallet, although it is a light client wallet, is as good as if you would run your own Bitcoin full node. Maybe even arguably it's a bit better, right? Because of some precise configurations and all this. So even a complete noob going to the wallet for the first time has extremely great defenses on the network level. So this is one argument. Of course, it's difficult, right? And hopefully more good defaults will come. But I think on the network level, we're pretty good already.
Yes, one main direction is to go with Wasabi. It should be a one-click wallet. So you want to send, you go to the send tab, address, amount, send, and that's it. And you will get Tor, you will get the filters, you will get maybe some other privacy features by default without even knowing it. So these features are unnoticeable in Wasabi, but it is there, and by default it is turned on. So that's the point.
I think it's super important to emphasize Max's point that privacy on Bitcoin equals not only blockchain privacy. So even if you have privacy on the blockchain, on the ledger, and you screw up on the network layer, then you are fucked anyway. So privacy on Bitcoin equals blockchain privacy plus network layer privacy. And yeah, so I just wanted to emphasize this, just to make this 100% clear that that's the reason why the privacy on Bitcoin is not a trivial task.
Yeah, and also user mistakes, for example. I can make perfectly many rounds of coin join, meticulously label every of my coins and all of this, and then I go and take my extended public key and post it on Twitter. Everything is just gone. It doesn't matter what I did, I just had all the effort and cost for nothing, because everyone can de-anonymize me trivially, right? So this is always the thing, right? A user misusing a tool can completely screw up, regardless how elaborate the process was. And oftentimes one small mistake is enough.
So don't forget, when you are querying something from the internet, it's also an information for them, not only for you. So when you are pasting an address or an XPath key or a transaction ID continuously from the same computer, from the same browser, then you might sharing information about yourself.
Maybe a more concrete question on what David mentioned earlier in the presentation is that Bitcoin is built on this UTXO model, right? You have a coin, you destroy the coin in the input of a transaction, and you generate new coins in the output of a transaction. Who of you knew about this detail of Bitcoin before the presentation? Okay, a couple, yeah. And so those who didn't know about it, how did you always engage with your Bitcoin wallet? Right? For example, when it shows your total balance and you just click send. How was your experience with this? To not have these details, to have this hidden away by default.
Smooth.
Yeah.
Or did anyone have problems with it? I don't know.
Well, I guess it doesn't work.
also very fleeting moments. Wasabi is not.
Yeah, so it's a feature in Wasabi which is called the coin control. Because other wallets you can see only a balance, you cannot see the coins in it. So you just see, okay, I have 1.7 Bitcoin, but you don't know how the UTXOs are there, but it's there. So if you are getting back a change from somewhere, that coin is included, that balance, and when you are creating a transaction, in some wallets you cannot even control which coin will be used. So you might use your, for example, you get your salary in Bitcoin and you might use that coin, so the two addresses will be interconnected together. And there was an interesting attack which called the dust attack. When somebody get to know one of your address, send a small amount of money to your wallet, and when you are spending, because your wallet automatically selects the coin which will be used in a purchase, then that small coin is included on the input side, so the attacker will know that you used some of the coins from that.
Yeah. This quick aside first. This is the Bitcoin privacy wiki, or the Bitcoin wiki with the chapter on privacy. Really long, as you might see. It was written by Chris Belcher, I think the inventor and main contributor to Join Market, another great project. And here, specifically, this is the attack called the forced address reuse attack, right here.
Can you zoom in?
Where someone else forces you to reuse an address, right? To use the same address twice. So basically, I see on the blockchain this was a transaction. Here's the address for it. The coin was maybe already spent. So I know the transaction, and because Bitcoin is a push system, I can send Bitcoin to this transaction. So a new coin will be protected by the same public key and can only be spent with the same private key. Thus, it's clear the person who controls this private key now had two coins. The old one and the one that the attacker sent. Which in and of itself is not even that bad, right? But then the issue comes up, as he mentions, if the wallet automatically selects the second coin that the attacker sent and combines it with one of your already existing coins that have a new address that are not tied to this old coin. And all of a sudden you merge two of these coins with the attack coin, then your cluster just expanded greatly, right? Because now it's clear that these two coins belong to the same person who had this coin and so on.
It's a very cheap attack. It's even cheaper than the branch attack.
Yeah.
Do you know of any instance where, for example, some government or I don't know, chain analysis used it against some targeted people?
That never happened.
I know of several entrepreneurs who've used this to spy on their counterparty businesses.
No, really?
Yeah. You send money to an exchange, right? A small amount of dust. And you follow it. Where does it go? What is the cluster? How much revenue does my competitor make?
Super clever.
Right? Yeah. So this definitely.
Just one
so like Coinbase against Kraken, or really?
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Yes.
I didn't know this.
Yeah. No, and then that's, I forgot, someone brought it up over here, that privacy is also an entrepreneurial thing, right? You lose your negotiation power if all of your cards are all of a sudden open, right? And this can be horrible, right? If your competitor knows exactly how much revenue you make, what your costs are, how much you pay your salary to your employees, right? You might just outbid that one employee by a couple Bitcoin per month, and then you no longer have that employee for them.
Wow.
But as you can see, there are many more attack vectors there. So.
Yes.
By the way, just this week came out the news that Chainalysis was sponsored by CIA or FBI. So even though it's a private company registered in the US, they got a lot of money from from the US government. I don't know, or what's your take on this? Or did you suspect this, that this company is sponsored by NSA, FBI. I was a little bit surprised.
Yes, I would say so that there are definitely several government entities that pay for this type of surveillance, but it's also many private entities who do so, right? And we always mention chain analysis, but there are several transaction surveillance companies, and for example, here's a list of some of the most public ones. These are very profitable businesses because this is important financial data, right? So yeah, sure. There are many private companies, many individuals, and many state actors hire these companies to get insights on these heuristics.
Yes, and this can be problematic because these are not serving only official partners. They will serve anyone who will pay for it. Yeah. So they will give you private information from another person if you have money.
Just a few numbers. Your channel is a $1 billion company with hundreds of employees.
Really?
Yeah. Actually, yeah. There was a Bitcoin developer called Bloomer Tamás. He just passed away recently, and I met him in London just 1 year ago, and with one of the founder of Chainalysis. And we spent a whole night together. And I asked the Chainalysis guy. He didn't tell me for 2-3 hours, but then turned out that anyway, I asked him how he thinks about it, and he said that he thinks he's making Bitcoin more resilient by attacking it. And so even they are not that self-righteous, at least that founder, that he's trying to make it another way, because even he realizes that privacy is so important. So, but it's a profitable business model. So,
and did they say anything about Wasabi? Like, guys, you're making a good job because we can't de-anonymize.
It was 1 year ago. Yes, they said that they don't care about that Wasabi at that point.
Why?
I mean, we started 1.5 years ago.
What would be interesting to hear, whether they can de-anonymize CoinJoins or not, or what can they do about it?
They can't. They said they cannot do anything about Lightning either. But more recent information that Chainalysis started to flag Wasabi transactions. So it's like, if they can de-anonymize it, then they are not flagging it, right? Then they are de-anonymizing it and flagging whichever comes in.
So it's good news.
So yeah, it's the bright side of a sad story. Yeah.
Maybe that's the other aspect. I mentioned earlier that you have to pay for privacy, right? But regardless this, with a CoinJoin, it is clear that you did the CoinJoin. Right? It is clear that you tried to protect your privacy, right? The coin that you bought on a KYC exchange that is tied to your identity all of a sudden moves to the input of a CoinJoin transaction. It's very easy to find out that this transaction was a CoinJoin. Yeah. So everyone knows that you who bought this transaction have something to hide, right? There's something to protect from. There's just you trying to get your privacy.
And this also has, again, fungibility issues. So if you raise the bottom level of privacy, so the minimum amount of privacy that everybody has to have, because it's by default integrated into the wallets, then this increases everybody's privacy, and that's it. If you pay externally for privacy and you are one of the 1%, maybe less, of the world people that care about privacy in Bitcoin, then you might be flagged for having to hide something, and your coins might be worth less.
Regarding what you said, you might be interested that in the last year, in March, because you ask if is CoinJoin a legal thing or is it illegal to do, there were no official statement about this since the last year, last March, as far as I can remember, when the US Treasury gives out FinCEN documentation about these cryptocurrency and services and providers and this kind of stuff. And they officially announced that anonymizing software which is non-custodial doesn't have to do KYC. KYC is Know Your Customer policy, and it is sometimes connected with anti-money laundering rules. And KYC is basically then, if you want to do something, you have to identify yourself with your passport, your ID card or something like that, and many exchange on the internet starting to use KYC because they are enforced to use it by the law. For example, if you go to an exchange and you want to have more than 150,000 forint, you have to show your ID card in any money exchange here in Budapest. It is something like that. You have to identify yourself before you can start trading. And because Wasabi is a non-custodial, anonymizing provider software, we don't have to do KYC officially.
And non-custodial means that you never send your money to someone else. Right?
Yes.
So in Wasabi, we have a coin join. It has inputs and outputs. You register your coin in the input section, and within the same transaction, atomically, right, within one single step, binary step, you get the output back to your own public key. Right? So you never give your money to anyone else, thus it's non-custodial. Though just a couple days ago, a news broke that for a custodial coin join provider called Helix, which means you take your coin, you send it to someone else, he does something with it, some point later, eventually, maybe, he gives you a coin back.
If you promise that he will send it back.
Precisely, but you give away the control over that coin. This is a custodial coin join provider. And Helix, one of these mixing providers, the CEO got arrested on several charges for providing money laundering services for others. So this is, and the news broke, I think, February 6th or something, but he already got arrested back in December. And
is he US based?
Yes. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yes, but it's a different case.
It's a different
because it was a custodial and the guy was involved in many other things regarding to Alphabet or darknet.
Yes.
Alphabet. So it's quite different case, but back to this FinCEN regulation, which I spoke about, that in the US they said yes to privacy officially, so they are letting to use anonymizing software in some way without KYC yourself for now. So that's
yeah, exactly. That's the thing. For now, the regulation stops at custodianship. Right?
I mean, anyone could just take the code and run the coordinator by themselves. No, that's the power of Wasabi. So even if you guys are shut down by US or China or Russia or whatever, then I can just...
Then use a VPN.
Yeah, somewhere here we have a step-by-step guide on how to deploy your own server.
Because of course you will be the only person who will coin join with, so that's not so useful. But for example, if you ask the people here to coin join with you, you can run your backend server and you can do it.
Again, it's one command, .NET run. But as he mentioned, it's a network effect. Right? In one of his slides, there was anonymity set, which basically means the size of the crowd that you're a part of. Right? If you're the only one wearing a mask in a crowd, right, then you stick out. But if all of us would be wearing masks, then he would no longer be that special. Right? So right now his anonymity set is the size of 1. So he's the one guy wearing a mask. If there would be several people, wearing face protection, then all of a sudden the crowd will be bigger.
Yes, but we don't know the identity of him, but we know he is a cluster.
Yes, yes, exactly.
And I was curious about the cluster.
Cluster A.
You see, because he sticks out, right? You're actually curious, who is that? You might not really care about the face of that guy, but you care about the face of this guy.
You will surely remember it.
Can you give us exact numbers, how many CoinJoin transactions you process per day, with how much anonymity set, or I mean, if it's going too technically and you are not interested, then let us know. But
yeah, sure. Do we know that?
Yes, we do. / CoinJoin. What is it called, Adam? CoinJoin efficiency.
Wasabi CG.
Wasabi C J CoinJoin efficiency.
It was there. It was there.
Oh. So yeah, that's the nice thing about having a very easily fingerprinted CoinJoin transaction. A Wasabi CoinJoin transaction has 300 inputs, 300 outputs. It's gigantic. It's very easy to spot. This means you can easily analyze it here, like I'm just doing right here, on which coins are being registered. Are they coins that for the very first time did a CoinJoin, which is what we call here fresh Bitcoins. Can you zoom in a bit, please? Yeah, so you see, for example, fresh Bitcoins is a new coin being CoinJoined for the very first time.
It started in 2018.
Yes.
So here, it's the fresh Bitcoin 1.
Yes.
It's not a big deal.
Yeah.
But later it increases, as you can see. And these are only the fresh Bitcoins, so people are remixing a lot.
Yeah. So exactly. So if you would sum all of these up, you got well over 100,000 probably of new coins being come in, and that does again not include the remixes. And remixing is quite valuable because so you buy on your KYC exchange. This coin is clearly linked to your identity. Then you do a CoinJoin for the very first round, right, with an anonymity set of 100. So there's a 1 in 100 chance that someone can combine these two again, right? Now, for example, if and nobody knows exactly which of these coins is yours. Now, if you go to a next round of CoinJoin, right, and you get again 100 anonymity set in this round, then it's even unclear that your KYC coin did a second round of CoinJoin, or a third, or a fourth, or a fifth. So even if you did not do a second round of CoinJoin, if others do a second round of CoinJoin, then your anonymity set still somewhat, or the value of it still somehow increases. It's very difficult to measure here exact numbers, but remixing helps quite a lot, even for those that do not remix.
What's the y-axis here?
The number of Bitcoins and time. So X monthly. Yeah.
Monthly.
Yeah. And again, all these like the I think the backend server even gives you a list of all the CoinJoin transactions. It's an API call or something. So it's very easy to get your hands on this data again.
Yes, we are trying to be as transparent as we can be. That's why of the open source, and you can get even these information. You can, of course, you can query the ledger, the public ledger, to find Wasabi transaction. As Max mentioned, it is very easy because it's a transaction with 100 and more input, and the output side there are 200 outputs there, and some of the outputs are equal, so it's easy to identify the CoinJoin transaction, but it's hard to de-anonymize it, or even impossible.
So the maximum amount is 100 people at the CoinJoin.
What's the maximum size of the
Like,
wow.
Why you chose 100? Is it like
It's a round number.
Well, why not 1,000?
It's there are two reasons for it. For one, back then, looking at centralized mixer volume, it turns out if 100 people could be joining in every 3 to 5 minutes, so that would be the best what we could reach with the centralized mixer volume. And the other thing is I sent out a bunch of emails for privacy researchers, and they said they have no idea. It's numbers like 50, 100, and okay, let's do 100 because you have to choose something. So
yeah, that was the idea.
It should be high enough that even 30% of the people doing common input merging and this kind of privacy leak, then you will still have a lot privacy. But on the other hand, you want to do coin joins quickly, right?
Yeah.
So but in this case, you have to wait until 100 people join together. So there is the time and the privacy on the other hand. You will have to find an optimal way.
But what if it is a very important transaction and I want to be 100,000 safe? Can I like increase it for?
You are not mixing when you are creating a transaction. You are mixing when you are getting back the change from that very important transaction. And you start to mix it. So when you need that money, you know that it won't be interconnected with that previous transaction.
So basically you earn your Bitcoin, right? Then you do several rounds of coin joins. Then you have coins that are not tied to how you earned them. Then you spend them on the important transaction whenever you need to make it. And with the change, you coin join again.
On the other hand, we have a 1 hour limit right now. So in every hour, there will be a coin join now. It doesn't matter how many people there. You might get only 50 anonymity set for in the first round, but you can set the target anonymity, so the software will automatically enqueue that coin to another coin join until you will reach the desired anonymity set.
And so just as an example for you to see this was a coin join in January, right? And as you see, it's gigantic, right? I can just keep on scrolling for very, very, very long time. Now, there are more outputs than inputs, right, as you see. But for example, this one transaction transferred 18.7 Bitcoin, right? So, and there are transactions that do much more. And as you see, there are many, many inputs, and these inputs all might have a unique value, 0.008, 0.16, and so on, right? 0.4, 0.2, right? There might even be some that have like 20 Bitcoin. But then the important part here is on the outputs. Right? As you see, all of them are exactly 10621287, right? All of them, and they start all the way up here, and they go with being equal. Still, these are all equal value coin join outputs. Still going on.
Yeah, so
it's long.
The average is, I don't know, 70 or something like that.
Yeah, so about roughly half of the outputs being created were equal value coin joins, roughly, right? And then the cool thing what Wasabi does that we did not mention yet, it's multi-denomination unequal output mixing. So we have 0.1 Bitcoin, but we also have 0.2 Bitcoin that has anonymity set here, right? It's the exact same. So all of these are 0.2s that still have anonymity set. And we also have 0.4.
Of course, with less anonymity set, because not everyone can afford to be part of that. But if you want to take part in a coin join, you have at least to have the minimum denomination to go in. But if you put more on the input side, then you might, if someone else has that more amount too, then you might participate on the second and the third and the fourth level of coin join.
Because I'm here with anonymity set of 6 for 0.4. But there is no 0.8 pool, right? So there was not enough Bitcoin registered to also create a 0.8 pool with anonymity set. Right? But we know that 6 people had 0.4, 0.2, 0.1. So 6 people at least had 0.7 Bitcoin in this specific transaction.
Compare like Monero or Green to Wasabi. I mean, maybe those ones are easier to use it. Maybe it's a bit less market cap share, of course, than Bitcoin, but as a using experience side, or because we are, I mean, not I, but you are professional to coding and following all the difficulties or all the risks when you're using the Bitcoin. But others, like what I mentioned, it's built with more privacy and maybe it's easier to use.
The defaults are very important, right? Yeah. And if, for example, in Monero, the default is everyone has the amount obfuscated in every transaction, right? That's a great default, for sure. Now, on the other hand, it's a very good tool, no question, but if you misuse the tool, for example, if you use a light client node, right, and you give your extended public key and the unblinding keys to some trusted third-party computer, you have again zero privacy. Because this one entity and anyone who hacks this one entity and anyone who coerces this one entity, or if this one entity messes up and all of a sudden the Mt. Gox database is public, right? Then everyone knows your public keys, your extended public keys, and does all of your transactions, right? So it always depends on the quality of the tool and how you use the tool. So Monero is for sure a great tool if you know what you're doing, right? And specifically if you stay within the Monero ecosystem. If you earn Monero, you hold Monero, and you spend Monero, it's pretty damn good. As soon as you swap your Bitcoin to Monero at a KYC exchange, then you do 1-2 Monero hops, you swap it back on another KYC exchange to Bitcoin, nah, it doesn't do much. Even if you use a good exchange like BISC, which is a decentralized, self-hosted Bitcoin exchange, it has a very liquid Monero market, rather private. Very private actually with Monero. Still, if you swap your Bitcoin to Monero, do 1 or 2 hops and swap back, you always have to find the weakest link in the chain. Right? It's layers of defense, and you, yeah. So it very much depends, but Monero is rather good.
Yes, and we would like to provide a solution for people who are not willing to use any other cryptocurrency because of some beliefs or because that's the most accepted cryptocurrency everywhere, so they don't want to use other currency, and that's why Wasabi is, I think it's famous, because it will give you a solution without doing these complicated things.
And it's also developer time, right? There are only a limited number of developers, and we have a lot of work to do on Bitcoin privacy. There's just no work to work on other shitcoins. Do you have any more specific topics that you'd like to talk about? Maybe something that we did not yet cover?
The specific price, it's depending on something, or it's fixed one?
It depends on the size of the anonymity set. So for example, with this transaction, right, we have for 0.4s, you have anonymity size of 6. So you pay 6 times the fee of 0.003%. Right? So 0.3 per mil.
Let me say it in an easier way. So let's say you will get 100 anonymity set, then you will pay 0.3% for it.
Yeah.
Which coin will made anonymously. So when you are making a 0.1, you will get 0.1 with 100 anonymity, then you will pay 0.003.
A couple zeros.
0.003 Bitcoin for that.
Yeah. Yeah. There were other some custodial centralized mixers had charged a fee of like 3%, 5%, so it's compared to the status quo that was before Wasabi. It's relatively cheap. Especially because you don't have the risk of losing your money, right? That's a big price that you don't pay, right? Where you can save on. Oh yeah, and maybe another aspect is denial of service. So this is the main reason why there is the fee. It's not just to pay for developers, but the main reason is that a malicious attacker has to pay for his attack, right? So because what is the problem if we have, let's say, an anonymity set of 100? But 99% or 99 of these coins are controlled by one person, right? Then this one person knows exactly which coins are his, and the one that is left out is the one wearing the mask, right? That's him. So this means that it's called a Sybil attack. You fake that all these coins belong to different people, but actually it's all one entity, and then this one entity can spy on everyone else. And that is, especially for coin joins, in any coin join implementation, very difficult to defend against. Because your users are anonymous, right? You don't know if this coin and this coin also belongs to the same, unless you make very advanced chain analysis. So sometimes it's possible to find out, in many cases not. And here the fee comes in, this is the main reason for it, that if someone wants to register 99 coins, he has to pay for 99 coins. And all of a sudden, many attacks already become not profitable anymore.
But can you make a DDoS attack where you register your input, but you don't give the output, and then you just disappear? Okay. So basically, you can DDoS Wasabi for free, no?
Yes, very true. And then one way, or one way to protect against this is then to ban the coin.
Okay.
Right? You just say, okay, this coin registered the input, but he messed up in a later stage of the coin join ceremony. So this coin will no longer be registered, allowed to register. Right?
Makes sense.
No, but Adam, in this sense, the attacker doesn't pay. If the coin join does not go through, he doesn't pay.
No, but you already said you get banned for 0.1 Bitcoin, and you keep DDoSing the rounds one after another, and you get banned for more and more Bitcoin, and at the end you will have to have like hundreds of Bitcoin in store to keep the DDoS happening. So the thing is that sooner or later you're going to run out of money and not with other people because they don't get banned.
Yes. This is the question how to set the minimum denomination there, because some people complaining that the minimum amount to take part in a coin join is 0.1, which is a few $100, could be expensive for someone. But if we would lower this, then we would enable to have DOS attack for cheaper price. And on the other hand, some other users are wanting to increase the minimum denomination to make their coins private in a faster way. So this is also a balance, this 0.1 what we have now between these two cluster of user.
And can you change this price based on the Bitcoin price? Because sometimes it goes up, sometimes it goes down. It's like half price, we put 0.2, right?
So far we have not done this, but definitely it would be an option, right? If Bitcoin to the moon, then it might be decreased. But that's another brilliant thing. We spoke about that earlier. Like Wasabi is such a cool business model. The best thing about it is it earns Bitcoin and denominated in Bitcoin. This means you pay 0.003% times 0.1, right? So it's an income denominated in Bitcoin already. It's probably one of the first companies, or one of the few projects are now, that actually has their unit of account being Bitcoin. They actually earn Bitcoin, regardless how high the fiat price is. You always earn Bitcoin. So this is definitely something that might be adjusted.
Mining is another business.
Oh yeah, of course, yeah. Yeah.
At least to have to be very good in privacy, like, I don't know, Brave browser or which one are you using?
Well, check out the Wasabi documentation.
that has many more advanced in using Wasabi, some advanced privacy techniques, like for example what to do with change coins. Right? Change is a big hurdle in Bitcoin with the UTXO model. Here the 10 commandments exactly, and that specifically. Yeah.
First one, Wasabi is for self-defense only.
Important one. It's a weapon, but a weapon of defense. Yeah. What else? Oh yeah, the privacy wiki, or the Bitcoin wiki chapter on privacy, as you read. There's like the heuristics that he spoke about, many of them are mentioned there. and explained in great detail. Chris Belcher is phenomenal. His writing is very on point. So yeah, that. What else? Maybe in general, not specifically on privacy, but bitcoinoptech.org or something. Yes, bitcoinops.org. This is a great open source initiative. They have a weekly newsletter written upon others by David Harding, who's a phenomenal writer too. And this is great for all types of advanced Bitcoin things. It has a lot to do with efficiency. Lots on Segwit. They have 84 newsletters, so quite popular. Yeah.
And one other thing about your question is that it's not necessarily privacy related, but it's related to the safety of your money, because a lot of people has loosened their money in a way that they are not owning their own wallet. How can you not own your own wallet? You go into a website, you register there, and if you are not getting your master private key, then you are not owning your own money, because some other third party, you are trusting in that service, they will handle the things for you. But in the history we saw many cases when this website just gone from one day to another day. So how can you be sure that you own your own money? Use a wallet which is non-custodial, meaning that it will give you the ability to control your money. Of course you will not getting the whole private key, which is a huge number, but instead you will get mnemonic words. I don't know if you are familiar with mnemonic words or not, but when you are using a non-custodial wallet, when you are generating a new one, you will get 12 or 24 words. And from those words you can recover your secret key in any time. So this is my recommendation to find a non-custodial wallet, and you will get 12 or 24 words, like, do we have an example here?
Yes.
Like in English words, there, you write it down on a paper, show it nobody, and put this paper into a safe. So in any case, if you lose your phone, your laptop, I don't know, anything, then you can recover. You take this paper, write in the words, for example, this fuel, receive, rare, sponsor, and you can recover your private key. And because everything was derived from this private key, you can recover back your wallet. The other thing, sorry, just one more thing. The other thing is to use a hardware wallet. The point is, there are many benefits of using this kind of stuff, but the main point is that hardware wallet never leaks your private key anywhere. Then how can it sign a transaction? It's easy. It gets the unsigned transaction on USB or an SD card or whatever, signed it inside the device, sends back the signed transaction, but this will never give your private key to any other third party. So the private key never leaves your device. Both solution is very good. Of course, even if you have a hardware wallet, it gives you the words, so you can recover in case of this destroyed or stolen or something.
For example, you can use pretty much every hardware wallet together with Wasabi. So Wasabi is the software piece that you use that does not leak your extended coupler key and all this, to send the unsigned transaction to the hardware wallet, which has the private keys and signs it offline there. For example, here, the Cold Wasabi protocol is a step-by-step guide on how to use Cold Card together with Wasabi. And also what you spoke earlier, here, we have a section here also on restoring Wasabi, both within Wasabi Wallet. So if you have it at 12 words mnemonics and your computer breaks, go to a second computer, put the 12 words in, and you can spend your Bitcoin again. Or even if you no longer trust Wasabi, then here on how to use it with Electron and do so in a private way. Right?
Yes. If Wasabi shut down for one day to another, of course it cannot be shut down because it's an offline desktop software, so you can install it and we have no essential background service which will prevent you to spend. But whatever, then with the paper you have the control.
Yeah.
So if you don't have the mnemonics words and you own Bitcoin, go home, choose another wallet which will give you the mnemonic words and make one transaction or several transactions, as many as you want. Just send your money to that wallet.
Yeah.
Because this is, I think, the most cases when people losing their Bitcoins, that they don't know the mnemonic words for it.
Mm-hmm.
Will be adding other coins on Bitcoin or in the future?
Fork it, code it.
Yes.
Wasabi coin.
Now, as I said earlier, not just writing the software, but maintaining it is already a huge pile of work. To do further research and further improvements, a whole other level. To do this and write, not just for one coin, but for several, especially when it comes to different architectures, it's impossible to do. But again, yeah, it's open source, fork it.
What about Lightning?
Yeah, Lightning is definitely on the soon in 2 weeks roadmap. But there's a lot of work to be done to make the base layer private. And then when we have sufficient privacy on the base layer, we can leverage that even more on the second layer, right? So there's definitely research going on. It will come to Wasabi for sure, because every Bitcoin wallet needs to be able to do off-chain transactions eventually. It's not priority again, because there is so much still to be done. And I would say at the earliest, when we have Taproot and zkSNACKs no input in the base layer, which will completely rework how Lightning Network works currently and make a lot more awesome things possible, then maybe. Probably.
Yes, Lightning is on our roadmap.
So, fork it, make a pull request, please.
Well,
yeah.
We have strict rules about third-party libraries. We are not like to use them. Because in the past many things.
Write your own code. There are only 4 or 5.
Yes, we are planning to do that, but
soon.
It's not so. We have to find the right open source library for that and copy paste the code or something like that.
And Bitcoin has quite a good library, so that probably maybe even has all the stuff that we might need. Another idea was to use the Rust Lightning library, do C# wrappers on that, and do it.
We have also privacy, so it's because this is a private wallet. We are selecting very carefully what to use in it or what not to use in it, and often we are saying that not to use any other third-party libraries. Because, for example, another wallet, I don't remember the name, it was something like JavaScript or something, that one of the sub-libraries which was used by a sub-module gets some malicious code, so it gets into the which was that, you don't
Koinomi?
Copay.
Yeah,
so that malicious code from that sub-library, sub-library gets into the master, and it was released. And when the software was used by many people, the attacker started to hack the wallets and steal the money.
That's why Wasabi uses basically only 3 main libraries and Bitcoin, which is like the maintainers of and Bitcoin are also maintaining Wasabi Wallet.
Also open source.
Yes. Then we have Avalonia, which is the graphical user interface library.
Also open source.
And the maintainers of Avalonia are also working on Wasabi. And then, well, of course, we have Bitcoin. So that's kind of somewhat trust Bitcoin Core-ish.
Yes.
Yeah, and Electrum went already through that part. They are also very concerned about what they take in. And I was reading discussions on GitHub about which of the current Lightning implementations they wanted to integrate, and in the end they did their own one.
And it was 2 years apart, right? And they have like the bare minimum thing.
Not really bare minimum. I tried to use it. It's not a minimum.
No, but that's the thing. It's a huge undertaking. It's huge. So especially when you want to do it right. Lightning Network has huge potential, but right now it's like
it's not even a bare minimum, right? And we really want to do it right. And I mean, we can do crazy things like coin joins into a coin join channel factory, hyperloop atomic swaps massively into and out of coin joins. Crazy stuff we can do with it soon.
On an interface when you can see your balance and press the send button.
Yes, exactly.
It's impossible. It's not possible. We have to consider how to integrate it.
Yeah. Maybe to round this up, and we did talk a lot about Wasabi, but one project that really deserves extra mentions is Join Market right here. Join Market is kind of like the granddaddy of CoinJoin providers. I think it was one of the first one that's being used. Yeah. And it's also non-custodial. It's self-hosted, and compared to Wasabi, or one step back, Wasabi uses a CoinJoin protocol that has one central server that communicates this CoinJoin. And it's always the same server for all CoinJoin transactions, and all users communicate with this one server. Theoretically, a central point of failure. It's made in a way that the central server cannot steal, non-custodial, and cannot spy because of Schnorr blind signature match. Join Market does it a bit differently. Here we have an economic model between users who have different tasks. So there are two major different types of users. One is the market maker, the market makers, the liquidity providers. These have, let's say, between 1 and 5 bitcoins, and they are willing to coin join these bitcoin for any amount at any time for a minimum fee of 0.01%, whatever. And so they advertise to the network, I'm willing to do coin join with anyone. These are the market makers, and you self-host this on your own computer. The second type of users are market takers. And these are users who say, I want to have a specifically tailor-made coin join that gives me exactly equal value outputs of 0.123456778, exactly this amount. And then the market taker looks at the order book and finds 7 or 8 market makers with a suitable fee that have enough Bitcoin and so on, and then selects these to do a coin join. And the market taker is the coordinator of this coin join. And he pays the market makers who provide the liquidity for this coin join.
Yeah, so it has a different incentive to make a coin join. In Wasabi, everybody is paying some fees. In that case, the only one will pay who wants to make coin join together with some other the market makers.
Yeah. And so this has two very cool aspects. The first is you can get paid for getting privacy. Because even if you're a market maker, the market taker can still spy on you, right? Because he's the one coordinating it. But anyone else who's not the market taker does not really know what's going on. So you still get quite decent privacy against most attackers, right? And you get paid for it. Might not be much, but at least it covers maybe the transaction fees for your following contracts, for example. So that's great, right? Another way to earn Bitcoin. And as a market taker, you get tailor-made coin joins, exactly how you like them. So for example, if you want to buy your Lambo on Bitcoin Noon, and you want to make a coin join of specifically 12 Bitcoin, 0.3 something, then you can make this payment to the destination amount, precisely the amount that you need to this address within a coin join. So these are the very cool aspects. Tailor-made coin joins and getting paid for getting privacy.
And the drawback is that you need to trust a little bit the market makers, that they are not run by Chainalysis, NSA, FBI, KGB, blah, blah, blah.
Which is the case with any coin join. How do you know that in the Wasabi Wallet coin join everyone are the good guys? Right. That's the thing with hiding in a crowd. You kind of trust that the crowd is good. Wasabi solves this by having a large anonymity set, right? Many peers in the transaction. Join Market solves it by doing several rounds. So even though when you're a market maker, the liquidity provider, the market taker can spy on you, if you do 100 market making joins, then there are 100 different takers, presumably. And so then it becomes very difficult for any one of them to track your whole chain of coin joins.
Another problem with similar attacks is this. What if the US government is spying and the Chinese government is spying? They're not going to tell each other the information, right? So if there are more than one adversary, that's actually an anonymity set there.
Do you have any further questions to round this up?
Are we going to still the moon this year?
For sure. For sure. Buckle up, number go up, and then number go down. Maybe number go up again.
How did you choose the name? Why Wasabi?
It was called Hidden Wallet before, which is not very regulator friendly, whoever they are. So I was thinking that there was statistics that people the judges people not based on what they committed but based on is it before lunch or after lunch. So are they satisfied enough? So if you get to the judge after lunch, then you are going to have a much better chance of getting a favorable outcome of whatever you are looking for. So the point is that, well, let's go with food then, and I ended up with wasabi.
So now what's your name? It's not like hidden, try to hide something, you know.
Dark one, there's dark one.
And one other awesome aspect of it is that this means that you start your software by, where is it? By typing in Wasabi, W-A-S-S here. Wasabi. So every time you start the software, you can giggle to yourself, Wasabi! So it's fun.
But only on Debian, I think, because on Windows and on macOS you will get a really nice icon with this. You just click on it and
on my Linux, because if you compile from source, you do .NET run, right? And that's boring. So I did an alias called Wasabi that does .NET run. So still, although I'm compiling from source, I can have a little fun. There are many fun little Easter eggs in the software. Go hunting for them. Anything else that we did not cover?
Recommend buying a shirt.
Oh yeah, we're actually talking about this right now. And the merch that he's wearing is from Bull Bitcoin, which is a Canadian Bitcoin exchange, who by the way also use Wasabi to protect the privacy of their clients. They have amazing merchandise, and it's much more art than just a logo, and that's kind of what we envision. Like, yeah, for example, look at this, just looks great. So right now we only have, these are like the testing things where it's just a logo. So we want to have something that people actually want to wear, that actually looks beautiful, and
it's easy.
It's easy. Yeah.
Try to get into the Wasabi developer team, and you will get a t-shirt.
Precisely. Yes. For example, also this here. This is like a background that a user Rick and made this. It has like all the like Wasabi Wallet, Trezor, Hodl, Bisq at the decentralized exchange, Room 77, the first bar to accept Bitcoin in Berlin, OpenDime, same people who did the cold card thing, Blockstream Green, Wallet, the Dragon's Den, like an IRC pit of toxic maximalism. It's
And
lovely.
BD is standing for Block Digest.
Block
right?
Digest,
so
right.
Block Digest is walking through these topics.
Yes.
It's a podcast show.
Yeah.
What's in the trash? There is something there.
Bcash, of course. Yeah, and then this is, for example, this is also here on the website. So we kind of like to get this sort of thing. Yeah. But yeah, t-shirts soon. Yeah, maybe even Martin Fischer from Cypherpunk Now, who does the Parallel Police things. Maybe it would be cool. Anything else that we did not cover?
So just did you talk about the Wasabi research project?
Oh yeah, for sure. What is the domain? Research Wasabi or something? Yes. Wasabi works now for 1.5 years pretty well. We've started to add more and more tweaks to make it even better. For example, the unequal output mixing, right? That you get 0.1, 0.2, 0.4, 0.8, 1.6, and so on in one round. That makes it much more block space efficient and all this. So over the years, we did more and more tweaks to what we already have. And we're pretty much at a point where we're done with that, where we could tweak it a bit further, but we don't get that much reward out of it. So what we're doing right now is to research a much more holistic, general, broad view on how can we rearrange the whole thing, start completely from scratch, and build a coin join mechanism that has a good, well-chosen trade-offs between privacy, efficiency, cost, block space waste, and all this. And this is the Wasabi Research Club. So we talk about, we started with knapsack mixing, which is very, very promising to do unequal amount mixing. We talked about zkSNACKs, which is a non-interactive way of doing coin joins. Basically, you don't have any network level communication. We talked about coin shuffle and coin shuffle plus, which is a way to do coin joins without one central coordinator, also very promising. Dining cryptographers was just a kind of a thing in the middle. Coin shuffle plus has 2 parts because it's very broad. And right now we're brainstorming about cache fusion, which is like convoluted with many great ideas in there. But basically the goal is to look at the whole ecosystem. What are the technologies that we have? How can we combine them? What else might we use? To then, in the second version of Wasabi, have a new and refined coin join mechanism that is even better than what we have now. And yeah.
It's just, anyone can join into this, and it's not really about Wasabi, it's about, if you like to look at research papers, then here is weekly one conversation that later gets onto YouTube, and usually the authors of the papers actually attend to this conversation, so it's really fun. So anyone can join, just read the paper before and be familiar with it and learn together. It's not really about Wasabi, it's more about the name.
Yeah.
It's privacy papers.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and so for example, this here is by Tim Ruffings and Pedro Moreno Sanchez and Aniket Kate. This would be the cache shuffle plus paper, right? So it is long. It is a academic paper. This is actually also gets into the cryptography and some code. This is like not easy stuff, but that's precisely why we need to have such conversations, right? Where even some of the authors come over and we can try to go through this step by step, right? Because reading this paper on your own, when you don't have all the background knowledge, when you cannot really ask questions, no chance. Like this is going to be too much. But if we come together and go through this, and Aviv, one of the researchers, always makes a great PowerPoint slide, I believe, that explains the whole thing very well, like a synopsis of how it works. And this is always very, very valuable as well. So he gives kind of a summary at the beginning, and then we ask questions to the authors, and then just talk about it.
Yes, and as Adam and Max mentioned, that we are not just building software here, so we don't have to be a coder. We would like to build a society around this. And furthermore, with István, I hope that we can build or I can be, or we can be the part of this Bitcoin community, technical Bitcoin community here in Hungary. So anyone who gets some motivation in coding or researching or documenting, or just has an idea about the software that he would like to see something in the software or gets something implemented, let's reach out to each other. We are open for the conversation.
On Twitter as well, so you
Yes.
making a Hungarian channel or just in English, or it doesn't matter.
It doesn't.
Okay.
Yeah, I think we have, well, of course, the core contributors from Hungary. Lucas Ontivero, the maintainer, is from Argentina. We have Jumar, who's from the Philippines. We have Dan, who's from Britain and Brazil or wherever. I'm from Germany originally. We have Yahia, who I believe is from Iran.
Algeria.
Algeria? Somewhere.
So probably English is the best.
Oh yeah, we have a couple good community in Italy, power users. Ricardo, yes. I mean, Francis, the CEO of Bull Bitcoin, also understand, and Keksky, the developer, understand the software quite great. They speak French. So pretty much got everything covered on languages. Find someone who speaks your language and then talk to them. Yeah.
Yahia's story is pretty interesting if you want to become a programmer or something, because he wasn't a programmer. He came to Wasabi and started fixing typos. And he started fixing typos, and then he moved on to small syntactic changes like making it, okay, now are we gonna write equal null or is null? So it's just making it more consistent, and he ended up coding a little bit more and more, and so that's a great way to start programming in any project as you are interested in, and they are on GitHub. And that's important. If it's not open source, then of course you're not going to.
And I think Yahia is a prime example for this, because he just started contributing, right? He got shit done. He opened issues, he made pull requests, and he did it, right? Voluntarily, just out of the good of his heart. But now he gets paid for it, right? So, like, I think he's on part-time at zkSNACKs. Now I give him some from the documentation bounty, because he does awesome work there and reviews pretty much everything. And you know, this is actually a way where we can pay anonymous contributors, right, who don't know much about, but they get shit done. You can send a Bitcoin for this. It's phenomenal, and this is part of this open source ethos where we can actually have, you know, more and more contributors coming together and building extremely complex software. I mean, Bitcoin in general is crazy complex. Wasabi specifically is also not that trivial, and one person alone could never figure this out. But when everyone comes together and especially reviews the code of others, it's invaluable. You can build crazy magic with this. Yep, it's the Twitter. Quite good. I think we're quite active on Reddit. There's a Telegram group of users who support each other. Yeah, the documentation is basically. Any further questions? Any last topics? Shall we wrap it up?
Okay.
Cool.
Thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you.
Thanks for coming.
Thank you.
Or maybe one more thing, a quick feedback round. What do you think of the Socratic method of having this very open dialogue? Awesome.
Good job.
Thank you.
It's good, but sometimes if you do more specific questions or objective, so we can also answer. And then, because people don't like to answer, and if you make a very broad question, I don't know, I think.
Max doesn't like to prepare.
That's the other thing.
Okay.
Now is the time to take offline those questions. Get the microphone. Get the microphone.
Yeah, okay, I think we're done with the recording.
Thanks everyone for listening in. And let's probably continue conversation over more coffee. Maybe some beer.
Some snacks there.
Thank you very much.